Posse, Packer Nation. Welcome to another episode of Packcast, the podcast where you don't have to be Packers fan, but it sure does help. I'm your host, Tom. It's the Lions once again. I hope we don't get shut out like we did a few years ago. Grossi, and today we're going to be talking about the Week 18 matchup, which just feels wrong. Doesn't feel right. But regardless, what does feel right is the guest that I have on today. He is a friend of the show. We've exchanged love. That sounded wrong, but it's fine. It's 2022. I was trying to find a better way to say we've been on each other's shows, but nope, right. I'm going to stick with it, and I'm just going to keep plowing through. That's what she said. Ladies and gentlemen, Luke from Luke G's Field Review, a diehard Lions fan. Luke, back to the show. Thanks for joining, buddy.
Hey man, thanks for having me. And salute to everybody that's out there, Pride Nation, obviously Packers. I gotta give y'all respect, you know.
That's it. We gotta show love. That's fine. That's fine. Buddy, it's been a while since you've been on. I'm so grateful for you being on. Whenever you go live, I always like try to pop in for like a hot second, and then I always like ask about Matt Patricia or like some random question.
I know. It's the most unusual, like I'm like, did he just really ask a question about Matt Patricia? Or you say something real random like remember that time? Like, no, we don't want to. We just want to let some things go. That's all.
You're like, remember that guy driving around on an ATV?
Yeah.
Nope. Don't recall. Do not recall.
I hated that guy. I
know you hated him.
I spent the whole entire season. I think after the first 6 games, I was like, he can't come back. And fans just like, no, you got to give him 3 years. I'm like, nope. I've seen enough. He can't come back. So, but you know what? I think we were better off in a way for it because we got Dan Campbell. So
listen, it's like getting out of a bad breakup. You grew from it. You knew what you didn't want. And now going forward, you have a guy who's willing to eat kneecaps for you. And listen, folks, if you're not with someone who would be willing to eat kneecaps for you, you're with the wrong person.
That's it. True.
That's just how it goes. But speaking of Dan Campbell, because it's been a while since I've talked to you, I kind of wanted to get your take on it because Dan Campbell kind of went viral before the season even began, talking about how they're going to be biting kneecaps on opposing players, what have you. So I kind of just wanted to get your first thoughts on Dan Campbell, and as the season has evolved, where are you now on him?
Well, once Dan Campbell first came in, I saw his press conference. I went, okay, as a former football player, I was like, okay, I'm ready to play for him, so that's a good sign. But then I still held off a little hope because I wanted to see if it was going to hold true. And I got to tell you, not only did it hold true, it is astounding at how true it is. And he says that, you're going to knock us down, but we're going to get back up, take a few recaps, and it's not going to be an easy win. You're going to know you played the Lions. I think maybe 2 teams. I'm not even counting that game against the Seahawks, but if you count the game against the Bengals and the Eagles, they're the only 2 teams who didn't know that they had to play the Lions. Everyone else was giving hell. The Lions came out earlier in the season against the Packers and came out hot. I think they
first half.
17-14. Kind of got away from the run in a second, but nonetheless. But to me, to see a head coach come in year 1, take on his whole personality, he had the guts to tell Jamie Collins, you're not playing hard, you're not giving effort, goodbye. So, I'm proud of our head coach. I'm proud of the direction that we're going. We could have easily, as easy as we are, 2, whatever in the 1, we could have easily been 8 or 9 win team, easily.
Sure.
So, I'm excited for Dan Campbell. I think Dan Campbell, if at all nothing else, he's definitely the guy to get us back on the map and back into a reset.
I mean, I completely agree because, his press conference, you're like, okay, that's interesting. But every press conference you saw, whether it was against you had an emotional loss and he wears his emotions on his sleeve. He's very apparent with it. And you look into the locker room and just see how much the guys love him. And this is a 2-win football team, and you would never know based off the atmosphere that's going on in that locker room. And I think that is kind of an indicative of like how good of a job he's doing and how well he's actually connecting with his players.
I mean, if you just look at all of the new coaches right now, name one of them whose team is still fighting like this. Name one. You just can't. And if you look at even the second-year coaches, their team is not fighting like this. Some of them are already in the playoffs and they're not playing as hard.
Sure.
And the most impressive part is we're doing this with Jamie from car sales at BMW and Matthew from the law offices of Burke and Burks. Yep. I mean, we're pulling people off of the street and
carpet cleaners
production. Yeah, like I've never seen anything like this. And they're doing things that I had a chance to talk to a few former Lions players and ask, like, so is this just me or am I tripping? But
yeah,
we moved the safety to corner who seems to be performing, and I'm like, that's not usually how this works. It's usually from corner to safety.
Sure.
So you see all these different success in stories that you see in it. And I know that people always say you are what your records say you are, but this is the one time I disagree with it because this team is so far ahead of it, and it's just crazy to see that we are like at where we're at, but this team is so hell bent on taking the identity of the city and taking on the identity of the head coach.
Yeah. And I mean, I've said it, you went into this season and you had a whole bunch of media personnel and people saying like, the Lions are going to be one of the worst teams in the league. Like they're going to be like the number one pick and what have you. And I always was like, listen, like there's a lack of, first of all, you have injuries at the wazoo, right?
Yeah.
But two, like
I think we're number two. Injuries.
There's a lack of talent in some key positions. Jared Goff, is definitely not going to be the guy, but like Penei Sewell, you hit it out of the park, right? Like he's been great this season. Obviously Frank Ragnow, who wasn't from this previous draft, but he's like an all-star. Like, he was obviously injured. You built up the lines during this draft and it was like, hey, let's get the guys in the trenches. You had Amon-Ra St. Brown, who was a diamond in the rough and has really come along in the back half of the season ever since the Vikings game. Like he's just like, oh yeah, I'm really good. So, it's a matter of, this is a rebuild, right? But I think there's something about it, at least from a Packers fan perspective, that feels different about it this time because it seems like it's going to be done the right way. You're building in the trenches, then you work out, and eventually, when you go after that franchise QB, they're going to actually have a team around them.
I mean, it's essentially the Patrick Mahomes story. It's the Dak Prescott story. You look at the quarterbacks who had a chance to come to a team ready to rock and roll. They had earlier success and they built up confidence, and now you got swag and everything else. But I want to go back on one thing. Amon-Ra St. Brown wasn't a diamond in the rough. He should have been he would have been a first round pick had he been able to come out a year previously. Amon-Ra St. Brown was balling that entire time. In fact, when he fell to the fourth, I was confused. And I was sitting there screaming at the TV, well, obviously on a live doing it, take Amon-Ra St. Brown, and they did. And I was excited to have him. And so everything I see him doing now is just a matter of him actually getting the opportunities. I mean, early on in the season, Jared Goff with his 4-yard per average pass attempts, he just was refusing to throw the ball down the field to him. And this guy was open a lot. Like I literally was going to do a video just showing him open, but I was like, I can't, because the more I made the video, the more upset I got. But you're
like
right.
OBJ's dad.
Yeah, it's weird how you watch him. Like I compare him to Hines Ward because he will block you. And then after you hit him, he's gonna smile in your face. I just think that's the most coolest thing. Yeah. But I have heard this from a lot of people. I've heard this from Packers fans, Vikings fans, Bears fans. They're like, we may have won the game, but yeah, the future ain't looking too good.
Yeah.
So, and also, I don't want to call it a rebuild because in order for it to be a rebuild, we have to have something built. At this point, we're just building. We haven't had anything built in a long time since 1990, 2 or 3. So
it's just building.
We're just building. That's all.
It's not even a rebuild. It's not reconstruction. It's just construction.
Yeah, I call it a retool, but I went on and waved the white flag and just said, you know what, it's a build. It needs to be built. It needs to be built right. And starting with the trenches is where you do it at, and that's just the truth. So it's a good thing.
Well, I mean, the thing is too, like you look at some teams, heading out of this year that are like in around like the same records, right? You look at like the Giants, you look at the Panthers, you look at, some of like the Texans, you look at this and you're like, all right, let me try to pull some positives from this season, right? The Giants, I don't know what you're pulling from it. Like, I don't know what you know about Daniel Jones. Like,
I mean, you can't even say Saquon Barkley no more.
You can't even say it anymore. Even he's just like, nah, guys, like, I'm out. I'm done. Like, I don't want to do this no more.
Yeah.
Like, you look at these teams and it's like, oh man, like, who knows what's going on with their head coach? Who knows what's going on with their quarterback? What have you? But I feel like for you, there are so many things that you can pull out to build upon next season. You're like, okay, the line is starting to like really, like, when everyone's healthy, the line is going to be solid, right? We have 2 good running backs at minimum, right?
4.
We also, like, quarterback, we'll see what happens, but you start building those pieces, bit by bit. And it's like, I think that, next season, okay, let's hit a home run in the draft again. Let's develop this talent and we'll see where we are next year.
I mean, we got 4 good running backs. You figure Jamal Williams, Swift, Reynolds, and Jamar Jefferson.
Yeah.
So you figure you get those 4, but like I spend a lot of time talking to Lions fans, explaining to them that I don't want to hear these stories about Aaron Rodgers leaving, because to me, I don't want to win a division when it's all like tore down and not worth much of anything, in my opinion. I want him to stay. I want to know that I beat the best. And to me, that's a winner's mentality. Okay. So, if for me, I hope the Packers keep him. I want you to go get him every weapon he needs, build up his defense. Matter of fact, spoil him. If he asks for ice cream in between snaps, give him ice cream. I want him to have it all, because when the time comes for you to show up and go against this Lions team, I want you to remember, like, I went against this team and this is totally different. And he talked about that after that first game, where he said, look, I tell you what, don't let the score fool you. This was not an easy win. Like, this was hard, so, he's recognizing that there's some changes. Obviously, Jared Goff cannot be the future. I had hoped that he can at least be like Dak Prescott-ish in his first season with us, where he's just managing the game, but I don't know how you're going to get the ball down the field throwing it 5 yards or less. Or
running it on 3rd and 9 because you just don't trust him, like earlier in the season, where it's just like, just run it. I don't care.
But you know what, though? Believe it or not, that was one of the plays that I was excited that they ran it on, because there's 2 reasons why. If you're going to try to win a game, put it at the strength of your team. And the strength of our team is that offensive line at this point. You might as well run it, right? Like, because he's not going to throw it for the first. He literally was throwing it less than 5 yards. So, but yeah, it's to me, we have so much to look forward to. And no matter how much our media hates what he do and try to downplay it, I mean, they was calling for him to be fired. They were people who were saying things like, "Oh,
Dan Campbell."
Yes, our media was giving him hell about him wearing the racing helmet to the press conference for him being the grand marshal to our little racing thing we have here in Detroit. And they made this whole spectacle about it. And then they went to town on them about the celebration after they first win. I'm like, it's 364 days. Don't I get to have a smile on my face? Like, it's so you see all these things, and they were like, he's got to go. He's, no coach acts like this, no owner, and it's just ridiculous. And so to me,
that's dumb.
Listen, I don't get it. And to me, I think with this particular coach, I wouldn't say this with any other coach, but this particular coach, we have to follow the same path as the Steelers, where just stay consistent with the coach. You're not going to win them all, so you must well stay consistent with the coach who got the ear of the locker room. Because that's one thing we haven't had. We haven't had a consistent coach. I don't think
there's no consistency.
Nope. And so that is a huge problem that I think that the Lions run into. We're quick to try to find the next guy. So, but I can tell you this week is going to be intriguing.
I agree. I mean, before we jump into this matchup, there's a couple guys I want to talk about in particular. TJ Hawkinson, who kind of like came out a little bit last year, really started rocking. I don't know if he still is, but like he was like the leading guy. I think he had the number 1 receptions for a while for this year. I don't know if he's still the leading.
No, it's Amon-Ra St.
That's Amon-Ra now.
Yeah.
So like, what are your thoughts on him? Because I know when TJ Hawkinson was picked, it was kind of controversial. I mean, I'll be honest, I wanted TJ Hawkinson because coming out of college, he could block, he could catch, he could do everything. What are your thoughts on him now, as he's kind of getting past now his 3rd year? Where are you now of like picking a tight end that early in the draft? Did you think like he was worth it?
He's 100% worth it. And I'm going to tell you why. There's 2 reasons. One of the reasons is that you just brought up. I'm like, if you don't take this guy, you're going to see him twice a year. I knew Green Bay wanted him. He's a Green Bay style tight end.
Okay.
Like you said, he runs,
he blocks,
he blocks, and I'm like, and so some people will argue, our media argue, well, his numbers are the same as Eric Ebron. I said, but there's a difference. And they said, why? Different. And I said, this guy hasn't had a consistent quarterback yet because we're dealing with a particular illness. I'm not going to say the word because I don't want it to get demonetized or anything, but we're dealing with some illnesses in this world. And so I said, you look at it. I said, we got Jared Goff. I said, Jared Goff was trying to force the ball to him, but let's be honest. If he dare run anything past 5 yards, the ball wasn't going his way.
Correct. Yeah.
And there was games where you see them literally taking their safety, bringing them up to follow the tight end. So he has the intangible part too. Yeah. And then you get to looking at the fact that, hey, he hasn't had a full season. Now the injury parts can be a little bit concerning. I get it. But luckily they shut him down early enough so he can fully heal. Hopefully they bring him along easier. And I think another year in this offense, because it's going to probably be a new offensive coordinator anyway. Sure. Yeah, I think he'll be back into form. But I'm not ready to sell out on that idea until it doesn't work out. And that's not the case. I mean, what was our alternatives? Take Devin Bush? I mean, he's not doing so hot at this point.
No, he's not. No.
So I just don't know. And I know a lot of Lions fans want to add Oliver, but as much as
he's inconsistent too, though.
Yeah, you don't hear nothing about him. It's like, oh, okay. Like one game he may go nuts, then 6 or 7, I guess he was here. Yeah, he was there, right? So no, I love the pick. I stand by the pick. I told our fan base that we was making the pick. I think I'm right now in terms of predicting the Lions draft picks in the first round. I'm 2-1, and the one I told him, I said it's a very good chance I'm gonna be wrong because you got dead man walking making a pick, and they're not going to pick for the future. They're going to pick for right now. Mm-hmm. And we took Okudah. Oh, Jesus.
Okudah Matata.
I mean, I try so hard to be that way, but when I watched that first outing against you guys, and the first thing everybody said, but it's Devontae Adams. I said, nope, that wasn't Adams doing that to him. That was everybody. That was Scantley. That was Lizard, and it was what's the other dude? His brother, Awesome St. Brown.
Equanimous St. Brown.
Yeah, Equanimous. Yeah, that was him. I'm like, dude, he was getting cooked by people I never even heard of. What are you talking about?
Where are these guys on the depth chart? Well, like, I think also, too, because, like, you had Isaiah Simmons or you had Okudah, right? Yeah. But at the same time, like, Okudah, unfortunately, unable to play this entire season. And on top of that, like, I've always said this, tight end, corner, and, like, along the line are some of the hardest positions to transition from when it comes from college ball to the NFL. And, like, I wouldn't say give up on him yet, but, like, you haven't really seen a good sample size. You've seen the first season. He didn't play the second season. And now it's kind of like, okay, like, hopefully he can pick it up in his third season, and we'll see what happens.
No, I've seen enough time.
You done?
I've seen enough.
I mean, you want to send him our way, that's fine.
Listen, you can have him, because if
like for a 6th, is that cool? Like a 6th round pick?
Yep, cool? Give me the 6th round pick. If he's not prepared to
make a phone call
to go to safety, I'm done. I'm done with him. You got to think about it. Here's a guy who
give you Kevin King.
I'll take Kevin King over Okudah right now. I'm not. Listen, you got to think about it.
He is a veteran, so it makes sense.
You got to think about it. You got a veteran. That's one. 2, this guy tore his Achilles tendon, right? Yeah. Before he tore that Achilles tendon, he was already getting cooked. So now you're getting cooked before that.
He's like a little better at the end of his first season, like a little bit. I mean, listen, the sample size, like
I was a little bit lighter in 2021.
The bar's lower,
just a little bit. Come on, no. To me, he's a safety. He was always a safety from the very moment he left. I made a whole video and questioned his ability to play corner in this league, and I said, look, he's benefiting from a great front seven. He's not going to have that in Detroit.
Yeah,
and he got exposed. He got exposed against the Panthers, and he got exposed against the 49ers. I mean, that one long pass that Deebo Samuel got where he pulled that Achilles came against him trying to keep up with the receiver. He's a safety at best. So, unfortunately, I'm good on him.
I'll talk about good things because you did get one player this year. You took 2 guys from the Green Bay Packers. Of course, you have the Tim Boyle laser show, but you also have Jamal Williams, otherwise known as J Swag Daddy. And Listen, here in Green Bay, we loved that man. We still do love that man. And it's funny because you got to see Lions fans react to his personality and how outgoing he is and how like funny he is. Like for you, and he's also a good ball player too. So like for you, like what are your thoughts on Jamal Williams after like having him for a season? Like is that like a kind of guy that you want in your locker room because it just like adds that extra like energy? Also, like he gets you those much needed yardage. Like where are you with Jamal Williams?
I love that he's on a team because I do love that he brings an attitude and a certain type of swag to it and stuff like that. And I like that he's open and honest about things. He's a total nerd when it comes to animes and
Yes.
stuff like that. So I love all those parts of him. However,
Oh,
I wish that he was not the starting running back for us because I believe that our offense is more explosive with DeAndre Swift as the starter. I feel like when, like even in that game that we had against the Seattle Seahawks. I'm sorry, let me go back. It was Seattle. He had a run that was where he got to the outside and it died before he even got the speed up to go. And so he's really, north and south. And I'm like, okay. But when you put in Swift, which we did right after that, he breaks one for 32 yards on what should have been a loss. And so I just look at that and I'm like, he's at this point for me, I need him to be more of a compliment.
It should be thunder lightning. Yeah.
100%. That way it can be a little bit more different because I think when you put in Swift, you don't know if he's going for a pass, you don't know if he's running. But when you put in Williams, it's a run.
It's a run, yeah.
It's a run. I do love it though. I do love it because we need that guy because he's short yardage.
Short yardage, he's incredible. Like he's clutch. He's definitely a clutch player. I mean, like he is also good he was on the Packers. Like he is good in the passing game as well.
He is good in that area too. I give him that.
No, but I don't disagree. I mean, also look at where you drafted DeAndre Swift too, right? Like he should be the feature back. Right. And then you on those 3rd and 2s, like you hand it off to Jamal Williams and you're able to punch it in, right?
Right.
Like that's what's supposed to be. So, heading into the off season, well, we'll get to the game in a second. Heading into the off season, you have the draft coming up. You guys are going to have an early draft pick. Where do you think the Lions go? Because like, I think the worst thing that you could do right now is draft a quarterback, even though it's obviously needed, considering the class, considering all the other guys you could get a premium edge rusher. Where are you like on where the Lions need to fill some holes?
If the Lions are stuck at second, and I'm the general manager, I will select Kyle Hamilton, safety out of Notre Dame.
Ooh. A safety early.
I believe that the Lions are going to trade down and try to still get Kyle Hamilton.
That makes sense.
But if they can't trade down, just to appease the fan base, I think they would then take one of the DNs. The ironic part of it is it's not the DN people thinking it is. It's not Aiden Hutchinson. It's not Thibodeau. I think they take George Karlaftis. I think if you look at the careers of those 3 guys, those 3 edge rushers, Karlaftis gives you a guy who you can put at DN, hand in the dirt, and still get performance. Take his hand out the dirt, put him at inside, get performance. Put him at outside, get performance.
That versatility.
He gives you all that part of it. But I think that the Lions are keeping a close eye on Kyle Hamilton because to me, it fits the need of the team. If you look at the history of the Lions, we've been going through a whole lot of safeties. Everybody's been giving us a shot at safety, and they've been trying to find a safety to pair with Tracy Walker because he can only do so much. And Kyle Hamilton is a guy that will cover the whole field and will make quarterbacks think twice before throwing it. And so I remember the year that Savage came out, I was like, hey, if you can get him as a late second, I'll take him. But first, I'm not so sure I want him. But to me, Kyle Hamilton is so far different. And I don't think there's a true number 1 or number 2 person here. So I think the rules for what that is out. And you're right. There isn't a quarterback I'm willing to mortgage that pick over. Plus, the most important part is, let's say they do take that safety. We still have 2, 3, I think 3 or 4 picks in the top 50.
Yeah.
Because we got 2 first this year. So I can still take Kyle Hamilton, get a linebacker with that second first, or maybe a quarterback, or maybe even a receiver, whatever I'm feeling, I can still do that. And I'm right back at my pick at the top of the draft. So to me, I see the Lions going for a safety. That's my early prediction. That's I made the same thing where I talked about the Lions going to take an offensive tackle, and people told me again I was nuts, and they did. And I told them, I said, it just makes the most sense. We've never had an offensive line. Not Barry can't say he had an offensive line.
Correct. Yeah, no, he will tell you that he definitely didn't. No.
So you figure, we're going to be in the market for somebody on defense.
Yeah. I mean, again, and you have the picks, like you said, you have the capital, so you can kind of play around a little bit, and hopefully you can trade down and get even more capital with it. That'd be the golden. So coming into this Sunday, it's not like a slam dunk because, LaFleur coming out saying, we're expecting to win this game. Rodgers wants to play. He wants some of the starters to play because they don't want to go like 3 weeks without playing, and that's how they go into their first playoff game. You mentioned before that you guys played us incredibly tough at Lambeau in the first half, and then things kind of got away from you. But, what do you see happening for week 18? I imagine we're going to see Jordan Love for like at least a good chunk of the game. Where are you at with how Sunday is going to go? And by the way, is it going to be Tim Boyle versus Jordan Love?
I honestly think there's a good chance it could be Tim Boyle versus Jordan Love. And I think even with Tim Boyle, who I'm not a fan of, I think even with Tim Boyle, the Lions should and still will probably win this game. I just don't think the Packers will play their starters, and I don't think there's a reason to play it. And I know that the idea is to not have them sit for 3 weeks, which makes a lot of sense in my opinion. However, there's the caveat that y'all not going to play those guys. But then there's also another caveat where are we going to have all our guys? I mean, we're still like trying to add people. We're just adding people in just to see if we can make the game happen. Sure. So you have that caveat. But let's just say hypothetically it's Tim Boyle. If the Lions come out and decide we're going to run the ball against y'all, and especially you guys as backups, they can do that. Sure. Because I've seen y'all starters have a little bit of a hard time with the run too. Yeah, so, it happens. So I suspect that the Lions will win this game, but I think it's more so that the Packers is just not going to risk injuring their starters. And at that point, I think it's a give me, in my opinion. But if they just play them starters for 1 quarter, and they can get up quick, it might get ugly. But right now I'll give you Tim Boyle back if you give me Jordan Love. I mean,
I think I'll pass on that one, but I appreciate the offer.
Listen, I'm just here to make everybody happy in Packer Nation. So I'm just trying to,
reunite.
Yeah, get y'all. It feels so good. Let it happen.
That's it. Listen, just release Jamal Williams just so he can at least sign with us during the playoffs.
No, that's definitely not going to happen.
Just so we'll give him right back, but just so we can get him a ring. He deserves one. And we'll just do that real quick. It'll be fine.
Well, listen, y'all. I think y'all had a 3-headed dragon all along. I know that they wanted to kind of give the ball a little bit more to Dylan. Yeah. Because Dylan, like I said, Dylan does something that I wish that Jamal did do is when you get outside, he can stick his foot in the dirt and pick up that speed. I just wish Jamal, I don't know if he needs to lose some weight or what the hell it needs to happen, but I wish
he's just the type of runner he is too.
Yeah.
It's 3rd and 1, go get us the first down, and he'll go get it for you.
He slams into people, but it's like, I mean, like I said, if you want somebody released to have him back, Tim Boyle's all yours. You can have him. Matter of fact, give me a bag of Doritos. I don't even care what flavor, and he's yours.
Even the barbecue one.
Yeah, the barbecue, whatever you come up with. You can even put mustard and hot sauce on it for all I give a care. I'm just willing to give. I'm in the giving. You know what? Forget that. Take a breath right now, and he's yours. Just take one. He's
Blink yours. Blink. Just blink once before the end of the show, and he's all yours.
He's all yours. I do not understand why they have so much faith in this guy. I just don't. Don't see it.
It's a laser show. That's it. But Luke, buddy, I really appreciate you coming on. It's always a pleasure when we were able to get together. Can you tell the people where they can find you and all the things that you do?
100%. You can always come over on YouTube and hit my channel up at Lukegsfieldreview, where we talk all things Detroit Lions football. I am right now currently running the greatest celebration of Lions history on a loop. One Mr. Tom Grossi's celebration of not only calling their first win, but celebrating with Calvin. I'm jealous because I don't know why I never thought to do this. I'm like, why did I never think to name my stuffed animals Calvin? What is wrong with me?
It's happened,
it's such a brilliant thing. But yeah, and if you want to catch me on Twitter, it's at PhilGs, and on Instagram is at Luke G. And obviously, all the contact information will be linked in this description. like I said, I talk all things football. And if you even come in there, we got Packer fans over there that come on the show, and I invite you to come on the show to talk about the game. It's all respectful, and we have fun doing it.
It's a true story. It is. And listen, I will always be grateful to the Lions for this year because they gave me one of my happiest moments of the season. And that was when I was like kind of disappointed you beat the Cardinals, even though it helped the Packers, because I just wanted the one win to be against the Vikings. But it's okay. It wound up working for me.
It worked out. It worked out.
It worked out. You guys, listen, I appreciate all the help that you've given to the Packers this year, beating the Vikings and then beating the Cardinals and helping us get that 1 seed. So that was really beneficial. So thank you, buddy.
Yeah, you know what? It's our pleasure.
Yes, absolutely. But folks, thank you so much for watching. I'm Tom Grossi. And as always, go Pack Go.